So yes, it was in my early 20s then that I discovered tribal fusion belly dance, which is a style of belly dance that kind of fuses together all sorts of stylizations from Indian dance and flamenco and of course traditional belly dance. And it was very creative and very open and very fun. And most teachers in tribal fusion also taught a lot of yoga. So I did my yoga training because uh, I wanted to be a good teacher. So for me to be a good dance teacher, you also have to have anatomy knowledge. You need more in order to teach. In order to dance, it's easy. You don't need, I mean, it's not easy, but I mean, you need to practice. But if you want to teach, you also need a lot of knowledge.
Yes.
So I went into my yoga training, and it was there that I discovered Feldenkrais.
Wow.
And then, it was a
Wow.
perfect full
Yes.
circle moment, because when I discovered Feldenkrais, I understood that this was what I was looking for this whole time.
Wow.
So and the funny story with me is that I went into a training in Basel, Switzerland, without ever having had a Feldenkrais lesson, either a functional integration or awareness through movement. I had just read the awareness through movement book, and I was like
Wow.
so sure that this is it. Yeah.
Wow. Love at first read. Love at first sight.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I was 100% sure, because Paul Rubin, my teacher, was asking me like, "This is a 4-year training. This is a big investment. Are you sure you want to do this? You haven't done any lessons." I'm like, yeah, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I read the book. I'm
I
sold.
read the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And you read the foundational book
And
from Moshe. I mean, awareness,
mhm,
the book Awareness Through Movement is a thesis of his method, is what Feldenkrais method is. It's all about, like, yeah, it's a method to learn awareness through movement. And it's glorious. Actually, I
mhm,
feel it's the only specialized method to learn to be aware. Like, yes, we have ballet technique. You have to be aware what is your right leg and tell from your left leg. And you have to be aware of the space in martial arts. And you practice breath awareness when you are sitting still in meditation. But, like, in my opinion and my experience being like a deep, curious, endless researcher of movement, body mind movement, there's nothing like the Feldenkrais method to
mm,
develop awareness, and not the kind of awareness that we think of, that we have through our thoughts or our mind. Because, I mean, to read a book, you need to be
mhm.
concentrated. To give a speech, you have to be aware of your audience. Like, that's the way we live. But
Yep.
this is working with awareness as yourself. Like, you become identified with your awareness in a very fleshly, anatomical, skeletal way. Like, yeah, it's, I am not only my thoughts or not even my actions, but I am the sense of myself that expresses through many ways, which is hot. Like, that essential for me. I
Yeah.
love your story. I love, like, also, like, how you connected with this method. You were so certain and you went all in passionately. Those are the paths in life worth we follow, the paths that have a heart. Yes, Erifily. And
Um,
you have a very
it, it,
interesting.
well, in my early 20s, I had a very big life moment. I was working as a graphic designer, which I was very passionate about. And we had this huge earthquake in Greece. and two buildings collapsed. I was working in one of the buildings.
Oh no.
So uh, I came out unharmed, but I remember as the building was coming down, I was under my desk and thinking, I'm too young to die. And then I thought, if I get out of this, I'm going to do whatever I want. And I was not scared. And it was a very moment of pure awareness. Um, Studying later with Shinzen Young, mindfulness, I discovered that many people who have these kind of life death moments get into this space of extreme clarity. And then, everything becomes a lot easier to jump off the cliff and go into a 4-year training by just reading a book.
Yes. Wow. Wow. I feel the goosebumps. Like you were protecting yourself beneath your desk from the falling building, saying, if I get out of this alive, I'm gonna do whatever I want. I think that's a mantra that you have shared with us, like the feeling, the sense of that actually that is life. Like we don't have the next day, the next hour, the next second for granted. Like that is truly being in the present when you are confronted with the reality of the only thing that we know for sure, that is death. Like that's for sure. Yeah, you cannot avoid it. But being aware of this definite reality, like it's as if life becomes real, like real in a very fleshly level, and in a way of owning yourself and making the choices according to your true desire. Like you realize that you don't have any time to waste, and this is it. I'm going full in. I'm going full in.
Yeah.
Wow, Erifily.
I was teaching this summer this series about eyes. And in classical Indian dances, eyes are where you look at is so important part of the dance. And I found like this metaphor for me in life, like, if you're on a bicycle and you're afraid of like the cliff, if you look at the cliff because you're afraid you're going to go there, you're kind of steering yourself towards where you don't want to go. So for me, having, the idea to keep your eyes on where you want to go instead of what you're afraid of, it kind of stirs your
Yes,
life.
yes, yes,
Uh,
yes,
in
yes, yes. It stirs your life. I am feeling it. Like
Yeah,
it's a typical cliche where mind goes, energy flows, but like your story makes it real. Like if you're riding a bike and you focus your attention to the cliff, you're staying away from where you're headed. Yeah, don't let yourself be
and
derailed.
and not even metaphorically.
No, really,
The
really.
eyes control the muscles of the spine, so you are orienting yourself
Yeah, yeah.
both figuratively and anatomically,
And
physically.
anatomically, really. There's a quote from Moshe that he said, eyes organize movement. And yeah, like if
Mhm.
somebody calls your name, like the first that goes, it's your eyes goes to the direction of the sound, then your face, then your torso, and then your legs, and you're already going in the direction that trapped your attention. And that's when the ability to choose comes into, because you went through
Yeah.
this life death moment, and you also decided like not to get derailed, not to steer away from where your focus is. And I believe this is so important in our modern era of distraction, that you get into Instagram because you want to send a DM, and like you forget. It happened to me, like I forget after half an hour. I remember that I was just there for 1 minute to send a message, and then the feed, and then the notification, and then there's a live, and then you get a WhatsApp, and then it's crazy. Like our attention span is being reduced drastically. So we need to see where we put our focus on, and choose to keep this focus as a matter of life or death, because it is. Otherwise, you will find yourself 6 p.m. and realizing that you didn't do what you wanted to do, or what you may have accomplished that day didn't give you any satisfaction, because you were not involved in the experience of what you were doing. And this ability to keep your focus, it's the awareness itself. It has to do with survival, and along survival, it's sexuality that has to do with, well, I'm passing the genes to the next generation, and finally with sex, and all the gamma of interrelating as humans with other people. Like, just how you send a DM has to do with how you are being aware of yourself, how you're sensing yourself. So I have a question for you, but before, I want to make a little bit of context, that a problem that I often see with my students at the Pleasure Connection one-on-one mentoring is that once they finally arrive to the promised land of pleasure after hustling and working hard, like they feel that they landed in an empty space, because they cannot enjoy much, they cannot feel much. Like, they worked so hard the last year to go on a Bahamas retreat for New Year, and when they are there, it's like, okay, they won, the place is fantastic, but like, now what? Like, I am bored. And yes, the food and etc., but they don't taste the food, and they have a gorgeous boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, and it's like everything is like superficial, because attention and awareness is something that needs to be trained in in a specific class, or in a specific practice, and then taken as part of your lifestyle. Like, we need to practice awareness in our everyday living. So when we come to the wonderful moments of celebration in life, we can be aware and feel and sense the pleasure of being there, and not just let life pass you by. So the question is, how have you noticed that being aware of your body, perhaps through movement or certain practice, have influenced your way of relating with other people? How does it has affected positively, or maybe even negatively, your relations?
Well, that's actually a very interesting question, because for me, in somatics and in wellness in general, there's, of course, there's this need for self observation and concentration. And I find that it's very easy to get sucked into this, especially as you work with somatics and you become more and more aware of the finer details, and you go deeper and deeper. Sometimes it's not easy to come out of it again. So sometimes after after a group Feldenkrais lesson. For me personally, I didn't want to connect. I didn't want to ask a question to the teachers. I just needed some time alone and go for a walk. And I know that happens also to many people. So in the context of a lesson, you might need some time to kind of let your nervous system digest everything before you interact again with people. For me, the danger, the dark side of these people who get too much into meditation awareness, like they get into it because they're interested, it's interesting and they want to know more, is that sometimes you kind of close off to people. And for me, one of the things, Aikido, though I'm a novice at it, I've just been doing Aikido for a year and a half. And before that, I was doing clowning workshops. So for me, this group thing of clowning and Aikido has helped me a lot to kind of get back into the space of interaction. Because it's easy when you get so much sucked into what feels nice, what is happening to me, and you try to find your center, you kind of block out because you get so much sucked into your awareness of yourself. It's easy to forget the experience of other people. And also there's this slight, I might even say, disconnection from the other person. So for me, both Aikido and clowning, in very different ways, because clowning is very fun. In Aikido, it is kind of a martial art, so there is a bit more aggression to it than clowning, but it kind of made me come back to this having to work with other people, with active other people who are trying to do something to me. Because even when I work in functional integration with other people, I have this person laying and allowing them, my hands, to pass through them. So there's this very passive way of connecting in massage, in somatics, in yoga. Everything is soft and smooth, and then you go out into the world, and the world is not that smooth and not that nice. And for me, it was an interesting balance to come back to this more energized way of being, where I kind of become less passive, and I kind of have to deal with stronger energies. And maybe I have to, sometimes throw someone down. And that's a connection too.
It happens.
But yes, but what I found, though, going through Feldenkrais into Aikido, was that although I'm very new to it, and I don't think of it as for me, the interest is not into the martial art aspect. For me, it's the awareness part of Aikido that's also, again, interesting to me. But what I found, that's through my Feldenkrais practice, because I didn't have this uke, this other person that's attacking me. Although in Aikido we do not attack, it's kind of more like a game. So no one wants to hurt the other person. There are rules inside where you pretend to attack, but you don't actually try to win. There's no winning in Aikido when you're exercising. So you kind of try to learn from the other person. So for me, Aikido has been kind of a Feldenkrais thing involving a second person, and how my mass and his mass can come together. So it's kind of an extension of my Feldenkrais training, in my opinion.
Wow, so fascinating, because it's then Aikido, a kind of specific practice that can later on turn into a better way of relating with other people through awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely know what is becoming isolated from the world in order to be experiencing your own sensual paradise of the little sensations, becoming aware, the fabric so great, and your tea, and then you do your Feldenkrais, you stretch, and then you go meditating. Like, you find really like the whole universe and its wonders inside of you, to the risky point that you become like possessive of yourself and jealous, and you don't want to share yourself with anyone. Like, no, like, it happened to me that I don't want to go have coffee, or I don't want to go to the movies or have a visit stay for longer than, I don't know, 2 weeks, because it's like, I need my space, and my space is huge. Like, I need a lot of space to be in relation with myself. But definitely it has a dark side of isolating from the rest of the world, and very especially isolating from what maybe is a true paradise that emerges in connection with others. Because, like, you know yourself, and you arrive to very nice places in your sensations, and oh yeah, you go through your pathways of pleasure. But I feel there is no greater pleasure than having someone make you feel something that you didn't know you so badly wanted to feel. Like when you get receive a gift, and this gift is wonderful, and it's like, I mean, I never thought I would enjoy this gift so much. And the other person gave it to you, yes, because of love, but especially because this person could sense aspects in you that are unknown to you. So it's very important to invite others to your private beach of experiencing, like, your wonders of life. Like, don't stay isolated. Don't stay isolated.
I
Yeah.
think especially now after almost 3 years of
Pandemic.
COVID and restrictions, and I found of course, that coincided with my daughter getting old enough now, so she doesn't need me that much. So now I have a bit more space and time for myself too. But I found myself reconnecting to old friends and making new friends, and although I was teaching before COVID, I was teaching a lot of live classes with real people inside, and I didn't feel the need for connection because I was seeing a lot of people, and I felt saturated by seeing so many people every day. But because when you're teaching, you're kind of leading the group somewhere. And then when I stopped teaching because of COVID and I had to stay in, and I took the time to get into the introspection, but now I'm like, okay, I found my center. Can we now expand again? And it's been a very beautiful last few months for me, last year almost, where I started connecting again with old and new friends, and being able to, having found that center, not just making it as a black hole and sucking in, but okay, now it's time for expansion again, and I come to it from a much more stable place for me.
Loving it, because the image and the sense of it is so clear. Like, I found my center, like, now let's expand. Because if you find your center, or what we say here, like, take back your center of fire, of power, so you can share the flame. But that's the first step. Like, take yourself back, claim the ownership, have authority in your choices. Like, really be in your center. But then we get very comfortably parked there. Like I'm in my center and here I'm having a good time with which actually is. But yeah, let's not forget the next level that is expanding. And then you're expanding from a safe place and also from a place of honesty that you are in your center. So you won't get off center by relating in a way. Like we can use a
Mm-hmm.
cliche boundary trend. Like if you're in your center, you can sense when you're like tilted or being pulled out of your center, and you will make the choices. But it's like, okay, you're there, like you feel good with yourself. Now go and be in the world, because that experience of really being with other people, connecting, relating, is what actually will make like these unknown aspects of yourself unfold. And that is fundamental in intimacy, because a lot of people, yeah, work like, I don't know, self-pleasure or um, communicating their emotions and expressing their desires. Like, I want a chocolate and you want pizza. Well, you get your pizza, I get my chocolate cake, and you do your thing, I do my thing. But it's very important to, hmm, in a way, to share center, like what you said with Aikido. Like now you, in a way, you use the uke or the enemy or opponent to move, like you use the center of the other to move your center. And I mean, the other can be your partner, your coworker, your daughter, can be anyone, like not as an enemy, but as the wondrous and mysterious other. And like relinquish for a moment, like this need to be in control of the position that you are, like your subjective position, and let yourself be moved by the other. Like let the center of other move your center, and discover that you don't have to get out of your center. Like you're just dancing the dance of life in a way.
Yeah. You know, these two things about center that's been through my mind. One is that when my daughter was born, uh, I was already into Feldenkrais, so I was very aware of my body. But the thing is that they allowed me to go outside for a walk in the hospital. She had, like, she was second day, so she was born or something. And I needed to get out because I don't like hospitals. Obviously, who does? So I put on my pants and I go out just, to stroll around a bit. And I could physically feel the center of my world being outside my body. It was like if she had a string and she was pulling, and the more I would try to walk away from the hospital, I could feel myself being pulled back because she was the center now. It was outside of me.
Wow.
And it was a very, very interesting experience because it was like, oh, like the Tower of Pisa. I was like, all these years I was me and my center was here, and suddenly there was like, no, it's outside now.
It's a, like, let's go there. Like this center inside my center is moving to her place. How fascinating, because of course, like the pelvis of your baby daughter was inside your pelvis. Like her center was inside your center. I that is so fascinating and so interesting.
Yeah, I had found it fascinating, and because babies are so weak and they need so much, so there was this anxiousness, but also there was this really this lack of center that had been pushed outside. And I was trying to play around with it as much as I could because I found it a very interesting experience. Now she's older, so I got my center back.
You
I
got your
found it.
center back. And she has
Yeah,
her
but
own center.
yes, that's amazing. As they grow up, they build their own centers, so they don't need you. And the more they don't need you, the more you can find your own space and be back again. And that thing for me, which I have a very big beef with that, with people, how we say, finding our other half thing.
Yes.
I dislike it in relationships so much. Like, you have to find your ownness, your wholeness, and then interact as whole people.
Yes.
So I think, in our culture, it's like you don't need other persons. And if you need other persons and you think you can't live without another person, it's not a choice anymore.
It's
And if
not
it's
a
not a
choice.
choice,
It's not a
it's a
choice.
compulsion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A compulsion, like an addict, like a dependence of food. It's like stepping out from your center of maturity in being an adult and moving yourself away to the center that you had when you were a 100% depending baby. Because a baby, like, you drop it there and dies. We are very lucky that our moms took good care of us. So that's dependence and that's need, and which is like being void of your center. So it's like expecting, like, you're an abyss because you need another person to fill you. And imagine you find a mountain, no, that can fill you, but then the mountain will empty in order to fill the abyss, and you both will be flatlining. That's why toxic relationships are so draining, because if the other is the abyss, it will suck you down, and the one that is the abyss will always be in a way resented that it wasn't because of itself that went to an equal level. So there's not this aspect of self-confidence that is sourced at your lowest low. So in a way, it's very interesting to see, like, continuing with the image of the abysses and the mountains, how some people really have become the phoenix that rise from the ashes, as if the bottom of the hole you were in defines, like, your lowest bottom defines your highest peak, and it's equal height, but there there's something in you called your center that you take ownership, and then you decide what you do, and then you go on and yeah, share centers, dance with the others.
There we are, back.
There we are. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was saying, it's like the cardiogram like I don't know
Yeah,
if it's
yeah, yeah,
called that in English, to be honest. That's how it's called in Greek, where your highest peak is also like the lowest. There's
yes,
an
yeah,
equilibrium to it.
yeah, yeah. You have to keep it moving. You have to. You don't want to be too high. You don't
Yeah,
want to be too low. You want to keep it moving. And yeah, very interesting.
yeah,
Like
but everything is expansion and contraction and movement, and it's all waves.
it's all waves. It's all
Mhm.
movement.
And I think, besides the point that, well, I think that, everyone gets older, grows older, but not everyone matures. So
Exactly.
there's kind of a difference there.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think, a big part of that plays into our relationships and into our relationship with ourselves is this fear of letting go, this fear of riding the wave, because we kind of get stuck and we want to keep things as they are. I was recently talking to a friend who was telling me that, oh, I don't want my kids to grow up. I love them so much as they are little. And I'm like, no, no, no.
No, no, no,
Uh,
no,
I'm
no.
I'm very much a proponent.
Of,
I'm very much a proponent of the wave. I mean, you know, but the thing is that I don't know how easy it is for everyone to be able to let go and to be able, to just stay open for the next thing and then
yes.
close and then open again. So, it does take a little bit of
Awareness through
getting
movement.
used to letting go of, yeah,
Yes.
to letting go of the attachments and
Yes.
the patterns and everything. But
Yes.
that's the only way to mature.
That's the only way
You
to
have to
mature.
be mm,
And to
you
keep
have to
on,
be open to change.
you have to be open to the change. And like you say, everyone grows older, but not everyone matures. And
Mm,
you need to, maturity is like how you face life, especially the famous constrictions in movement that we see, for example, in Feldenkrais and in real life are the challenges. You never know when COVID hits. Like, I mean, how would we, the whole world, knew that there was a pandemic coming? But it's like these constrictions that you're like turned into a pretzel in Feldenkrais, and you have to find the way to get out of your own constriction. So
yeah.
it's like, okay, you're in a state, but the thing is to get out of there, and it's not as simple as that, because you develop like the differentiation by exploring the possibilities for getting for moving with a certain constraint. And I feel that that is key in maturity, like being willing to face life and deal with life as it is in a shared centered kind of way. And and for that, it's very important to be connected, um, to your awareness, and let your experience tell you if you're going through the right way or the wrong way. And a very easy way to know is simply asking yourself, is this pleasurable or not? Am I enjoying
Mm,
this movement or not? And I don't know, in your life, you're facing a final exam, a quarter delivery, a problem with a colleague or an employee, or you're giving birth, or many things happen. But the thing is to take ownership and choose how you're gonna deal with it. Like, like own your center and sense yourself in which way you can actually, if you're having a bad time, in which way you can have at least a little bit less of a bad time. And maybe from there, how you can be okay. And from there, how can you actually feel good and then feel fantastic? Like how you went for a walk on the hospital before giving birth. Like you felt that maybe something like taking space, moving out, but not only from a rational level, but from a fleshly level. And like we know that the psoas muscle that flex the legs when we walk, like the walking muscle runs deep in our core, like from the groins back from the pubic bone, back from of the intestines, hugging the low back, and that muscle is connected to the via fascia to the uterus. So the whole thing of walking was a way of moving your hip bones and your pelvic bones, and not many people um not many people trust themselves as a body. They don't trust their body, not because they don't feel it, but because they've been educated on not trusting your sensations and your body or your thoughts or your emotions. Like we have been actually miseducated. So I'm loving what you say
Yeah, that's very true.
on taking your center, on taking your center and then expanding it.
You know, many of my students, and I thought like that too when I was in my Feldenkrais training.
And in your Feldenkrais
We
training,
talk sometimes because wonderful pain and it goes away and it's almost magical. And yeah, and since then I felt like that too, and I've had many of my students tell me like, why is this not in school?
yes,
Why have, because I had morning classes with older women who don't work anymore, in their 60s and their 70s, and they all had, most of them had like back troubles and pains, and after a while when they started feeling better, they were telling me like, why didn't they teach me this at school? Why didn't they teach me this somewhere? Why did I have to become 70 and suddenly realize that, oh, yes, I'm not supposed to be in pain. I'm not supposed to, I can feel good. I can do something pleasurable with my body because, you know, this no pain, no gain
okay,
mentality about the body, even in dance or in any kind of gym work, you hear again and again, oh, you know, you have it, this is good for you, pain is good, pain is weakness leaving the body.
yeah, what a nonsense,
and
what a nonsense.
and then when you discover that you didn't have to actually do all this, and there's so much more pleasurable ways of moving your body and feeling better and getting away from pain, it's mind blowing. Why haven't we been taught this in
Yeah,
school?
yeah, actually we
But
have,
then, you know, there.
then you know what,
Oh, sorry, we have a lag and I'm talking over you.
yeah, it's okay, you were saying, keep going.
I was saying that for my to want anarchists think for themselves, uh, who would stupid products if they didn't, much less people. So I think, you know, it's inside our society.
Yeah.
Are we
So,
back?
yeah. So
Yeah.
you were saying that it's so immersed in our society not to think for ourselves, and not to wonder what's going on in you, like at any level, like wonder what are you thinking, why are you thinking that, how are you feeling, where does that emotional experience is being sourced, like what happened. And especially physically, like we are taught
Wait, now I can hear you again.
not feeling. Yeah,
Oh,
so
now you're back. You're back.
we're back. Yeah, so I had a very, very dear student taking the one-on-one mentoring, that one day she told me, like, Candia, you don't know how grateful I am, because now I know that I am a body, because now I can feel myself. I spent 6 decades of my life being a stranger to myself, like leaving a house I didn't
Mhm.
knew had a living room and a garden and a pool and a rooftop terrace, wonderful, and like being unknown to herself. And she told me, like, at 60, I feel that I am beginning to be intimate with my husband. I feel that finally we're starting to get to know each other on an intimate level, because being
Mhm.
with the husband or being married was all a matter of duty for her before. Like I mean, I am a wife, I have to prepare the breakfast, I have to get the kids ready, I have to sleep with my husband and fulfill my marriage duties, because that's what it should
Mhm.
be done. And she ran on autopilot. I mean, very compliantly, tremendously successful, very high level executive woman. And she told me, like, at 60, I am beginning to be intimate with my husband, and my husband with me. Like, really, you taught me how to move and how to feel my body. And definitely all that we're talking about should be taught in schools. I don't know, maybe in some Asian places, from we have gotten so much of this background, things are different. But here, like in Europe, in America, like we are so detached from the sensitive experience of ourselves that, well, it's making huge money to the pharmaceutical industries and the doctors. Like, this is a
Not only that,
reality.
what kind of a consumer is going to buy the cream, the right t-shirt, or the whatever if they feel comfortable within themselves? What kind
Exactly.
of consumer is going to go out and buy stuff if they can connect with people?
Exactly. Like, if you can connect with other centers, like, what's the need of having a Lambo to show off, or a huge condo, or the high-end vacations? Like, yeah, maybe, but at the same time, all that is superficial, and you can always tell. So yeah, pleasure has become a product in our society, and the huge problem is that you get the product but you don't get the pleasure. I mean, yeah, my iPhone is super
Mm.
beautiful, but they sell you the iPhone like, oh wow, like if it's the Bahamas or paradise itself. And I mean, it's a very helpful. Well, I love my my phone, but that's it. Like, I mean, we we are we are the glory of life. I mean, we are the glory of life. We are alive. It's amazing. And yeah, I feel that view is wrong and we need to change it. We need to take back our ownership of pleasure and take authority on the choices we make for the life that we live. And yeah, like you say, I'm gonna do what I want. Like I was close. I'm gonna do what I want now. And it's about being honest with yourself and with others and with the world by by becoming responsible both for your desire and responsible for your satisfaction. It's no one else's responsibility. It's yours. And actually,
Mm.
it's what you
Very
define.
well said. Yeah.
It's your birthright. Pleasure, satisfaction is your birthright. Like,
Mhm.
don't wait, claim it now. Enjoy. So, would you share with us a little movement experience to claim our pleasure? Like, feel our center and enjoy ourselves.
Sure, 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 sure.
Eh,
Now let me think. So one of my favorite things to do, which is actually very, very easy, is kind of finding how we feel our balance when it's being challenged. So if you're sitting on a firm chair, and especially a chair that doesn't have like wheels or something, I just want you to take your time and feel the sit bones, which are, those uh, bones at the bottom of your pelvis. And you kind of, they feel kind of like a rocking chair. So you can kind of
yes,
rock it forward and back. And then as you experience this coming forward and back, can you make it smaller and smaller until you find this tipping point where you feel that your equilibrium is there on your sit bones? And for a moment, can you sense if one of your sit bones is different from the other as a sensation? So maybe it feels heavier, maybe one feels wider. So there's all these kinds of way that you can compare them and see what's the difference from one side to the other. So, and maybe it's just a feeling. Maybe you cannot explain it in words yet, but you just feel, yeah, there's a difference from one side to the other. And then I would like you to take a book or a notebook or a notepad or something.
the iPhone.
Like, no, 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 no. Let's not do that to the
No.
iPhone.
Okay, okay.
But I want you to put it under the sit bone that felt smaller or lighter or yeah, you're back. So the sit bone that feels with a lighter connection to the chair, put it under that sit bone. So for some it will be to the left, and so for some it will be to the right. And now you've created this little small step,
Yes,
and it goes without saying that everything feels different now.
yes,
So take a moment and feel your lower back, and how far up your spine do you feel this difference? And let's just play now by swinging our whole torso from one sit bone to the other. So what you're doing now basically is swinging side to side, then something changes as you step up on that little book. There's a difference in the quality of movement because on one side, you're kind of going up as if you were going up the stairs, and on the other side, you're just tumbling back down to the chair. can you make it now so that there is an actual difference in the intention of the movement, so that as you come with your sit bone on the book, you kind of press it down as if you were going up the stairs? How do you go up a ladder? You press down with your foot. So can you find now this idea of gently switching the movement, so that on one way you're going up, and on the other way you just release down, and you push down on the book. That's it. And then let it go. And again, for a moment, just sense the right and the left sit bone and how your pelvis stands now with this little step. So again, it's obvious that you're going to feel a big difference, because there's an actual physical difference of a book underneath one sit bone. What I want you to pay attention now is that as you take the book away, you don't come back to your original state.
Oh, wow. Now they are even.
Now something has shifted.
Yes.
For some, it will be even. For some, they will even feel heavier on that
Actually, I
side.
feel on the other side melted. Delicious.
So the idea is that there's no straight, there's no posture per se, because we kind of get used to what the way we sit, and we kind of feel that this is the normal, this is the center, but it is not, and it can be easily changed. So it's kind of our nervous system gets this. It's more like a thermostat.
Yes.
So we have this tendency again to draw ourselves back to what we are used to, and what we are used to feels comfortable. And sometimes what we are used to is not really comfortable. It's unpleasurable, but we've been at it so much that we don't know the difference anymore. So all these little Feldenkrais puzzles is not about finding the correct posture. They're just experiments to show this mosaic of different ways of being, and how much of a difference just sitting and feeling your sit bones can become if you make just a small adjustment.
Yes. Yes.
So we could do it on the other side and see what happens.
Okay, let's go.
So put it under the other side. Just take again a moment to feel. And what's interesting with the second side for me is to go about it with an open mind. So don't expect what you felt on one side to be exactly the same on the other. Do every movement as if it is the first time you're doing it. Don't leave your expectations of what it will feel like, so that you are able to have your attention here and sense, because it might be similar, but this side might feel totally different. And again, just you begin to think about shifting your weight. And as you shift your weight, can you think of that sit bone that's on the book, stepping down, pushing down, as if you were climbing up a ladder or a set of stairs? And how is it on this side? How is it not only for your pelvis, but maybe for your lower back or your ribs or the back of your neck? The more experience you have with somatics, the finer the details become, and that's what makes it interesting. And then come back to center and sense how this is. And maybe this time not only feel how this is for your body, but how is this for your sensation? Do you feel more powerful sitting with this side up? Does it feel more weird, unusual, uncomfortable maybe? Sometimes when we are not used to a specific pattern, it might feel uncomfortable.
Mm.
And sometimes the differentiation of this feeling uncomfortable is very important, because sometimes it's something that the body says like, no, I don't want to go there. And you have to trust it. And sometimes it's just the opposite of what you're used to doing. And this uncomfortableness is not really because you don't have to go there, but it is because you haven't explored it. It's unfamiliar. it feels unfamiliar, so it feels hostile.
Mhm.
So for me, there's a very big difference in getting to know when the body does not want to go because it's unfamiliar and strange, and when does the body does not want to go because it's somewhere that's painful and it doesn't want to go there. And that again is a differentiation that takes time to learn. And now again, you can take your book out and see what happened. If you kind of feel lopsided, it feels more balanced.
It feels so interesting. It's strange. Yeah, like I feel like I have a hollow seat bone and a very wide opposite seat bone. And when we were doing this, I felt a radical difference between one side and the other, and my perfectionistic compulsion tried to kick in to make the both sides equal. Then I follow your words, and then I felt my whole spine uncoiling, like I was in a weird knot of tensions so ingrained in my late collapse of this week that I became unaware of how I was. And now I feel that actually I have a different posture than when we started. And this posture where I'm at, feeling so upright, is actually effortless. While my
Mm.
previous collapsed posture took me, like, it was apparently comfortable, as you say, but it was the uncomfortable comfort of the familiar, which on the long
Mm.
run lead you to a spinal surgery and like wearing out your joints. So yeah, like it's very clear this sense of ah, like why am I so happy? I feel that maybe sometimes we are so afraid of love or so afraid of money or so afraid of success because we confuse our bodily sensation of being on the watch because it's something new, something unusual, something unexpected, with the other sense of real danger. And
Mm.
knowing how to tell, it's key not only for survival from the earthquake, but it's key for your pleasure. Because if you're not used to pleasure, if you're not used to enjoying the first slice of the pizza or the kiss with your beloved, or you are not used to read a book calmly, like you're gonna freak out when you get there. You're gonna freak out when you get what you deserve. So yeah, loving how you so clearly point out this difference and how you led us to experience by doing this seed bone shift, that I feel this is actually a great practice for the sensualist here in the audience to do every day, because most of the people here are workaholics. They work a 9 to 5 job and then go to their home and continue working there. So it's very important to bring this awareness to your everyday life and making them even part of your identity of, yeah, I am taking my hourly break or my every 3 hours break just to sense my seat bones, and I don't care what my coworkers think or say. Yeah, thank you so much, Erifily.
Oh, thank you.
Really
It
enjoyed
was a very interesting
with you.
talk. Although we had our technical problems,
Yeah, technical problems,
it
but
was a very, very interesting talk.
yeah, we navigated the problems in a very real life way.
Mm.
Like, yeah, like Zoom kick us out of the call, we jump right in and it gets frozen. We breathe a little bit. maybe this will be a little bit edited, but that's the thing. Like, don't freak out with the unexpected and adapt to the
Yeah.
challenges from your center, and let yourself be moved by the waves of other centers. Can be other people, can be your partner, can be COVID. It's life itself. So yeah, awareness is a way
Yeah.
of living. Pleasure, sensuality. It's it's how you choose to live. So yeah. Tell us, how can we know more about your work and contact you maybe for an online
Well,
session or
I have I have a YouTube channel where I post uh, a lot of my smaller lessons, which is free, of course. It's in the youtube.com. If you search for Erifily Nikola or Erifily Feldenkrais, I will come out. I haven't been posting the last few months because I have this internet problem. I haven't had internet for 3 months, so I've been slow, but I'm trying to get back on my track. My website is feldenkraisandyoga.com, and I have a newsletter, which is a good idea to subscribe because I don't spam people. I only the most I email people is once a month, and usually it's about what's going up online for free, what are the new classes. So there's always something interesting around. So
nah,
yeah, I'm fingers crossed when I get my line back. I'm working now on a Greek platform, Feldenkrais in Greek, which has been postponed due
yeah,
to my
life
internet
itself. Like,
problems.
and you have also a Feldenkrais app. I think that was the first one,
Oh
right?
yes, the I think yes, it's the first one. I have it's free. It's available for iOS and Android. It's a free app. Each month there's a different teacher talking, and you will be depending on when we post this, you will be coming up soon, or you'll be
Yeah,
already online
yeah,
because you're teaching there too.
yeah, yeah. I'm teaching there too.
So
Yeah, nice. It's called, what's the name of the app?
the name is called My Feldenkrais app,
My Feldenkrais app.
and there are lessons in many different languages. There are a few of my lessons for going to sleep, which are for relaxing, and it's a whispered. And then each month I host a different teacher, so you can see the whole broadness of this amazing spectrum that the Feldenkrais work can offer.
Yeah, fascinating. So go get My Feldenkrais app on your app store of your iPhone or in your G whatever store,
Play Store, the Android, yeah.
the Android
Yeah,
G Play Store.
in the Americas, you have a lot of Apple users. In Europe, it's a very small percentage, so it's very different.
Very different, but anyway, it's the same name. My Feldenkrais app. So
No, it's the same, and it's the same app.
the same app.
It's
So
exactly the same.
so
Yeah.
go, like, as you're listening now, like, grab your phone and go to your app store and download My Feldenkrais app, and you will see there yours truly teaching an interesting movement experience on sensual pleasure awareness. And of course, you will have the best teachers of Feldenkrais in the world, because Erifily is doing like a fascinating collaborative endeavor in this app. It's a treasure, and it's a free treasure. So you really go to get it. Now, My Feldenkrais app. And to book sessions with Erifily, go to feldenkraisandyoga.com, correct?
Feldenkraisandyoga.com, yes.
Feldenkraisandyoga.com, and subscribe to the newsletter to get news from Erifily once a month, and you can also check out her YouTube videos in Erifily Nikola or Erifily Feldenkrais. Yay! So happy talking to you, Erifily.
Yay.
Great pleasure. Great.
You too. You too. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes, yes. And Essentialist, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time for you, like the time you're taking. It's like water, it's like food. You not only deserve it, because pleasure is your birthright, but this is something that fuels you. This is taking your center of power to then go expand your interactions and share your flame. So until next time, remember to take the time to sense your fire so you can share your flame. And if you haven't subscribed already to the Sensual Sessions podcast, please go to www.centrodepoder.com and get yourself signed up to get these episodes delivered weekly on your inbox.